All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello, good morning. My name is Dennis Charles, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. And today is Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, the 31st of July. Look, I wanted to pick up on this specific instrument because it is crazy. It is crazy out there, ladies and gentlemen. Look, yesterday we had the Federal Reserve, and this has nothing to do with copper because copper declined heavily. Look at this. I mean, I talked about copper recently in July. I mentioned it, and it was back in on the 10th of July. I talked about it. We were rallying. We spiked higher because of that tariff that was imposed or getting was planned to be imposed on copper material, basically, and with everything was getting imported into the U.S. All the copper that's getting imported into the U.S. would get a 50% tariff. So basically, everybody was kind of rushing now. The demand for copper spiked, and everybody was rushing to buy more and more in order to get it into the country on time before the 1st of August. Guess what? Yesterday, they come out and say that they're not going to do the 50% tariff on copper. And so it's basically, let me just read this out because this is the information that I found basically. So that the White House announced that starting on August 1st, it will impose 50% tariff on semi-finished copper products. However, copper input materials such as copper ores, concentrates, mates, cathodes, and anodes, and copper scrap are not subject to the tariffs. There we go, basically. So basically, everything is like dropping. So if you have a semi-finished copper product, then that will get the 50% tariff. But if not, if it's just scrap, or if it's just material from which you can make some products, then no, that's okay. So basically, the market kind of collapsed. Honestly, like the price here fell off the cliff. Look at this. Let's have a look at how much we have traveled to the downside here. Where's my measuring thing here? Price range. So from yesterday's open all the way down here, 18, 19%, 20% we're now dropping, 22% we're now dropping from yesterday's opening level. Okay, look, I mean, this is getting crazy. Looking at the technical picture, it is clearing everything. Look, I talked about the technical part, and I said to everybody, look, I mean, this is forming something of a potential triangle, like ascending triangle pattern here. But if it clears the lower side of it, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the downside, maybe towards the 5.37 territory. I mean, wow, this is just spectacular. I mean, it went further south. It continues to go further south. Now the question is how far it can go, and this is where I'll try to use our magic of technical analysis. And basically, let's see if we can draw a trend line which could travel from here. Basically, so look. In a way, this could sound logical. Maybe it's this way that we could draw the trend line. That's one option here. The other option is to draw from this one right there, and also it could be a good option. So basically, we have two options of trend lines. Again, I'm drawing these both of those because both of those are tentative. I mean, don't really rely too much on them because again, the this we could test this one or we could test the other one a little bit lower. So either way, okay, both of them are interesting targets. Probably let's first aim for the steeper one, but then let's see if we can actually test the slightly flatter one. So the steeper one comes from the lowest point of March of 2020. If you remember, that was the big sell-off in the market which we saw. And that was like a bit of a crazy moment there. And the other slightly flatter upside line is taken from the lowest point of July of 2022. So keep your eyes on that. Again, I just wanted to run this by you very quickly because, again, the market is crazy, very much manipulated, as we can see here. So imagine this: everybody was rushing in to purchase copper and get it into the country by the 1st of August. And now basically everybody got it, and now we see this tariff kind of removal. So now from what I read, basically now you have the 1 year's worth of copper sitting inside the country. So Okay, look, of course, don't get me wrong, eventually it will get used because there's a lot of expansion, there's a lot of the industry in general. Everywhere you look at, the electronics, everything is powered by copper, wired by copper, and again, it will get used. It's just that this little moment of inconvenience, which forced a lot of companies to purchase, to throw out a lot of money to getting copper into the country. Now you need to store that copper somewhere, and basically these are additional costs. So now they removed it anyway. This is a little bit, like I said, this is a little bit crazy. Of course, the cash rich companies will be able to kind of take the extra costs in, but the smaller ones, I think that there's a little bit of an issue right there. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this helps. Look, for now I'm bearish, of course. I'm targeting the downside. I'm targeting these two trend lines, and then we'll see what happens next. If we clear it, okay, I'll go to the downside. But if we don't, if we rebound, if it provides good support, we could see a rebound, maybe a push back to my EMAs right there. So let's see what's going to happen here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you found this useful. Don't forget to subscribe to our Trading View channel here, for more updates. And yeah, look, let me know in the comments what you think about all this. And that would be really interesting to know. So thank you very much, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.